So welcome back, dear learners, to chapter 2 of your book on different forms of business organization. And with these forms, we are basically referring to only the private sector part of the Indian economy. Now, when we talk about this private sector, it comprises of 5 main forms of business. The first being sole proprietorship, the second being HUF, the third being partnership, the fourth being cooperative societies, and the fifth being the joint stock companies. So we are going to discuss about all the types in all these 5 forms of business organizations. The point number 5 to 9 will be covered in chapter 7 as per your NCERT. These are the points related to formation of a company, which we will discuss in detail in chapter 7. So I hope this chapter will be clear on different forms involving sole proprietorship, HUF, partnership, cooperative society and joint stock companies with the help of few tips and tricks. So let's begin. So to begin with this chapter, students, let me first take you to the last segment of this chapter in your NCERT, where comparative evaluation of different forms has been discussed on few bases. Let us see the basis of comparison. The first one being formation of the form, then there are members involved in the particular form of business, then the capital contributions, the liability of its members, and control and management, and the point on continuity. So these are the 6 main factors on which the differentiation table or comparative evaluation has been conducted in NCERT. So I would suggest you students that whenever you read this chapter on different forms of business organization in the private sector, you always carefully note these 6 features in the given form, which we are going to discuss one by one, and make a comparative evaluation. क्योंकि एक फॉर्म दूसरे फॉर्म से कंपैरिजन में अच्छा या बुरा हो सकता है. So instead of reading the form in entirety, you must go for a comparative evaluation. So this will be the theme where we are going to discuss on all these 6 topics in various forms so as to arrive at conclusions at merits and demerits of the various forms. So let us begin. When we see, students, the various features of sole proprietorship, you can imagine this type of business as sole proprietor. Sole means single and proprietor means the owner. So definitely this business has only one owner. And with this point in mind, we can read all its features. The first one being formation and closure. You can imagine that as there is only one owner in this organization, the formation as well as closure of the business becomes very, very easy without much legal formalities. When we talk about the liability, it is definitely unlimited. Unlimited in the sense, students, that all the personal assets of the sole proprietor, of the single owner, can be taken by the business in case to pay off the business debts. So it is unlimited, and formation and closure is very, very easy in this form. I would say it is the easiest in this form. And then we talk about the risk factor. Definitely, as there is only one owner, he is the sole bearer of the risk, but the positive part being the profit is always in his hands, because all profit goes to that single owner. As far as control is concerned, dear students, there is better control, and all control is in the hands of the sole proprietor itself, because he is the single owner and his decisions are the supreme. Whatever he decides will be applicable to his business. No separate entity. This is also a negative aspect of this business, students, because if the sole proprietor is dead, is either he is died or he gets bankrupt, he gets insolvent, then there is no continuity to his business, and the business also comes to an end with the end of the sole owner. And lack of business continuity related points, since there is no separate legal existence of the business, as far as the business is concerned, its existence also comes to a halt as when the sole proprietor is no more. So let us see these points from NCERT now, that what NCERT has to say on these parts, and we will discuss simultaneously the various the merits and demerits of this form. So the first one being formation and closure. As we have discussed that there is no separate law for this type of business, and therefore the closure and formation is very, very easily, it's done very easily without any legal formalities. So we can say hardly any legal formalities to start as well as to end this type of a business. As far as liability, we have already discussed, it is unlimited. Unlimited simply implies that there can be personal property used to pay off the firm's debts. So this is one of the demerit, students. Formation and closure is definitely a merit point. It is a demerit. Then we say about the risk bearer. So being the sole risk bearer, it's a demerit. Being the sole profit recipient, it's a merit, because all profit goes in one basket, that is in the hands of the sole proprietor. Control, as we said, it is very quick in this case because there is one-handed control and single owner. All decisions are absolutely in the hands of that sole proprietor. So definitely it's a merit for that owner. There is no, but the same point can be tilted, students, like it can also become a demerit when we say that more brains, more ideas and more options. So here, as brain is one, the limited ideas come from the sole proprietor's end, and therefore we can say that although the control lies, entire absolute control lies in the hands of sole proprietor, but there is lack of more ideas. So this demerit can be related to innovative ideas in this case. The last point being no separate legal entity or no distinction between trader and his business, and they are one and the same, because in the eyes of law the sole proprietor and his business are one, and therefore there is lack of continuity. From this point only we can infer that there will be lack of continuity, which is definitely a demerit, students, because as soon as the life of the sole proprietor comes to an halt, comes to an end, there is also an end to the business and there is nothing in the business. This point has been well explained in the next point, lack of business continuity, where NCERT says that the person, in case of his death, insanity, imprisonment or physical ailment or bankruptcy, the sole proprietor is no more, and it has a detrimental effect on the business directly, because business as well comes to a complete halt in case of all these situations with the sole proprietor. So I hope the form is very clear to you with all its merits and demerits, and you can focus on these particular points to explain it. Coming to the next form, dear students, it is about Hindu undivided family business, and this form is governed by the Hindu Succession Act of 1956. This is a very, very important act that talks about the family business that is prevalent in the Hindu religion. And in the points, there are 5 points of characteristics of this particular form, where first is regarding formation. As we have discussed, students, we must read this chapter in a comparative terms, and when we compare it with the sole proprietor, it is comparatively quite difficult formation, but not at all difficult, because we must say that there are no legal formalities. Again, here also there are no legal formalities. And why is it not there? Because the act is governing this type of organization. So not much paperwork to be undertaken for forming such type of organizations. So formation, we can say it's easier as compared to the other higher forms like partnership, joint stock company and cooperative societies. As far as liability is concerned, students will come to know that under this form there are 2 types of members. One is the Karta, who is the head of the family, and other are called the co-parceners. So when we talk about the co-parceners, their liability is definitely limited to the shares in the business or to their stake in the business. So their personal assets cannot be taken to pay off the business debts. But when we talk about Karta, Karta bears an unlimited liability, because every business asset is generally on the name of head of the family, that is the Karta, and his personal assets may be taken to pay off the business debts. As far as control is concerned, we can say that all partners have a say in the business, no doubt, but the final decision or the ultimate decision comes directly from the desk of Karta. Then in continuity, this business does not run with the fear of lack of continuity, students, because as we have discussed, it is a Hindu Succession Act that is governing this type of business that runs in the Hindu family, and when the Karta dies, the next eldest member of the family becomes karta and takes up his position. So there is continuity always, because the next generation always come in and they take up the business unless and until they mutually agree to stop the business. So with continuity there is no problem as such. Then minor members are also present because the membership of this business is given right from the birth. So any person born in the family, a newborn also becomes a member of the family business, and therefore there can be minors as well. And of course, when we talk about minors, they are only for the good points, means they are only for the profits, to enjoy the profits in the business, but bearing no such liability towards the losses. So they have no liability at all, but they can enjoy all the profits in the business. Now let us see what NCERT has to say on these points, students. Now in NCERT, as far as formation is concerned, you can see that it has clearly mentioned that there are only just 2 members in the family that are required, and there has to be an ancestral property which is inherited to start up this kind of a business. Then liability, as we have just discussed, there can be liability of karta is unlimited, but all the members' liability is always limited. The co-partner's liability is always limited. It's only the karta who bears an unlimited liability and whose assets can also be taken up to pay off the business debts. As far as control is concerned, the ultimate decisions always come from the karta. So the final control is dependent in the hands of karta, and his decisions are binding on all the other members of the family. As far as continuity, the business continues even after the death of the karta, because the next eldest member takes up the business, and therefore there is no problem as far as continuity of the business is concerned. And one more point, students, very important to mention here is this Hindu Succession Act of 1956 has been amended in the year 2005 to also give an equal right in the family business to the female members. So now even the eldest member can be a female, and she can also take up the position of karta in the family business. So equal rights, gender equality has been taken care of in the amendment of the year 2005 as far as this Hindu Succession Act is concerned. And the fifth point regarding minor members, we have already discussed that minors can also become members. They are included in the business right from their birth for all the profits, but not as a sharer of losses. So this is all about Hindu undivided family business. It can be started with 2 members, and with an ancestral property in hand, the business can be continued for generations to come, and the karta being the unlimited liability bearer and the other members having the limited liability in the business. Formation and closure is definitely easier, and as compared to sole proprietor there might be few issues, but not at all that difficult as we compare from the higher forms of the business. Now, I think, students, you can easily comment on various merits and demerits of this form once we have gone through all its features, students. So here we can say that regarding formation, we have already talked that it is very, very easy because everything is governed as per the provisions of the Hindu Succession Act. So this is definitely a positive aspect for the business. The second point being liability, we have discussed that karta only bears the unlimited liability and his assets can only be taken to pay off the business debts. However, the other members' personal assets cannot be touched at all to pay off the business debts in case of losses in the business. So this is also somewhat a positive point for the other partners or members or co-partners of the business, but karta definitely has an unlimited liability still. Then as far as control is concerned, it is all residing in the hands of karta. So karta might have a dominance on the family business, we can say that, so it's a negative aspect, but ultimately karta is the eldest member and he has the greatest decisive power. So whatever he decides is binding on all its members, and therefore the ultimate control lies with the karta. With continuity, we have already discussed, students, that this is the form which is least afraid of the continuity part, because as soon as a member is born, they become the part of the family business, and when karta dies, other eldest member in the family takes up his or her position. So it is not a point to be considered at all, because lack of continuity is not at all there. And there are successors. As the generations grow up, there are people to take over this business. One more thing we need to talk about here, students, is as it is a family business, they definitely carry a family bond, power of love and affection as it exists in a family. But At the same time, there can be a few possibilities of conflicts amongst its members, which will not be that good for the business. And if they lack that adjustment power amongst themselves, definitely the business will have to be coming to a halt or putting an end to the business. They can move out with an agreement or a mutual consent to it. So this is a negative aspect. Apart from this, as there are only the members of the family contributing to the family's business, the resources is still limited in their hands, because it's only the ancestral property or only the family members contributing for the business. We are not still going public for the business. So therefore, as compared to the higher forms like partnership or cooperative societies or joint stock companies, this form still have a limited resource as compared to the higher forms. But when we compare it with the lower form, that is sole proprietor, definitely they have a little more resources in hand. So if there are lack of conflicts and ample resources, this form can function very well. Another important aspect is lack of managerial skills or capability, because in a family business, we cannot expect everyone to be a good manager also. So that point is also missing in this type of a business. But if a family business take up management as the profession and carries that and contributes for running the business, it is well and good for the prosperity of the business. So I hope merits, demerits and features of HUF or joint Hindu family business is very clear to you. Thank you.